U.S. And now with the National Defense Authorization Act coming into effect.
Financial giant Barclays paid millions in fines for fixing so-called LIBOR rates. LIBOR stands for the London Interbank Offered Rate.
HSBC Bank has been allowing money laundering to happen right under...
And with that, we're back again. It's Radio Free Canada, wrapping up the best of 2012. I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
We're going to bring you media as defined under international fair usage copyright law.
And we're bringing you our opinion, which is protected under Section 2 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
Take that, Stephen Harper. We are here to wrap up all of the best hits from 2012. We have weeded through thousands of hours of Justin Bieber, references to the royal fetus, and all the nonsense that they say is the news on the news. So we're bringing it to you.
You said hits, I say misses.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that happened the past year that the mainstream media missed or completely underreported.
What? Say it's not so. I thought if I watched major media, I was totally informed about things. I mean, come on. They have impressive news. They have commercials that say, trust us, we're a news authority.
They also have commercials that say, buy this and you'll be happy.
I know. We're here to make fun of major news. So if you're one of those in-the-box thinkers, please stop listening because we're just not there, okay? We're going to talk about the real stories and about what mainstream media missed.
And they never talked about this.
And controversial detentions could soon be commonplace in the U.S. And now with the National Defense Authorization Act coming into effect this Thursday, the law that many fear spells the end of American democracy grants the government and the military unprecedented powers to detain U.S. citizens indefinitely without trial. All this is happening against the backdrop of ramped-up anti-Iranian rhetoric from Washington. Film director Sean Stone, who recently made headlines for publicly embracing Islam, has told us here at RT the timing is no coincidence.
What's happening is we are now in a state of martial law and war globally. NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, that Obama has called for and signed, stipulates that even American citizens can now be targeted by the military, picked up and imprisoned indefinitely without civilian trial, thus throwing out our due process, our habeas corpus clauses. So we are now in the state of martial law. Everything is now creating conditions for a total war state. America is now a battlefield. The whole earth is a battlefield. What's being done is that rather than trying to address our continued economic depression and the reforms necessary domestically, what we're trying to do then is create a martial law state using Iran as the terrorist enemy or threat. So you see everything is now in motion as a pretext that you can go to martial law here and war abroad. And obviously the war abroad has tremendous consequences. This is we're in a horrible situation and people are not being educated as to what's really going on.
So this is what we're talking about. We are Radio Free Canada and we are here as a solution to the myopia of mainstream media.
And this is a country that is locking up journalists and citizens without due process.
Okay. America, land of the free, locking up journalists and citizens.
Without charges, without
lawyers.
Corpus.
Okay. I mean, it's like a communist police state, and they're not covering it in major media. Where is the critical other side of the story?
And this really concerns journalists. I mean, this is the amendment that covers journalism.
So remember, we are here because major media is not covering the story. And right now, they're getting thrown in jail. And I'm saying more power to you, man. Make sure you represent and never, ever let those cameras run out of batteries or empty memory cards. Let's talk about a couple of the mainstream misses. What do you got for me, brother?
Well, you know, the U.S. is trying to dominate the world.
Okay, let's talk about it.
There's someone else that wants to talk about it.
From a parallel universe, light years away, comes Little Green Man.
What are you doing? Picking our president. Whoa, that sounds important. Oh, it is. And one of the most important things about a candidate is their energy policy. What's that? It's how they plan to keep our cars running and our homes brightly lit. Oh, see, one of our top candidates says man has dominion over the earth. Whoa, that sounds cool. Yeah, which means we can drill for anything, anywhere we want, 'cause it's our Earth. But can't the Earth shake you to pieces, drown your cities, or send a sharp-toothed animal to kill you? I guess, but this guy says we still have dominion. I think we're supposed to be in charge. Oh, okay. And the other candidates blame our current president for gas prices rising. Wow, is that like price dominion? I don't know how he does it, but he does it all over the world. Plus, he wants to drill more too. What if you just put oil platforms everywhere? How much would that bring price down? I guess by about 3 cents. So you're here on this earth, seeking oil and gas, sacrificing animals and whatever. Then you visit shrines every day and give it money? Yeah, pretty much. Well, that's a really messed up theology.
Oh man, that is exactly why I like working around here. Really, it is. This is the coolest thing. It's because you got a guy who's talking about the problems being created by this great money grubbing that's going on.
Yeah, I know. Well, the whole thing is we exist to make the bankers richer.
That's our job, don't you know? That's everybody's job, is to make the bankers richer at expense of anything that could make them profit.
And no matter what they do, we reward them.
Yeah, I know. Put them on Forbes magazine. Worship the greedy little mongers, right? Sorry, the reason why your ratings are going down.
Now, there was a little story to do with banking that the mainstream media dropped the ball completely on, especially here in North America.
This is awesome because if you don't know what LIBOR stands for, you probably watch mainstream media. LIBOR rates are so important.
They affect everybody.
Your wallet. Okay, let's run the clip.
Questions about what happened between England's regulators and bankers remain unanswered after financial giant Barclays paid millions in fines for fixing so-called LIBOR rates. LIBOR stands for the London Interbank Offered Rate, the reported daily rate at which a bank is borrowing money from other banks. The Bank of England Deputy Governor Paul Tucker testified Monday to lawmakers about the alleged price fixing of interbank lending rates to make banks look more secure. The scandal has already cost Barclays $450 million in fines and the bank's top 3 managers their jobs. Documents released Monday show email correspondence about Barclays' LIBOR rates between Tucker and different government leaders at Whitehall. A BBC analyst reports.
These emails prove that there were connections between Whitehall and the Bank of England at an official level, at civil servant level.
Government leaders insist they were not involved in any discussions surrounding LIBOR. The Economist notes, no matter what, the scandal tarnished the reputation of the banking system. A cleanup is in order, for the banking industry's credibility is shot, and without trust, neither the business nor the clients it serves can prosper. A columnist for the New York Times notes Britain and the U.S. are reacting differently to the LIBOR scandal. Britain is in an utter frenzy over it, with wall-to-wall coverage, yet on these shores, the reaction has been mainly a shrug. Perhaps we're suffering from bank scandal fatigue, but the Brits have this one right. They may not understand the intricacies of LIBOR any better than we do, but they sense powerfully that banks have once again made a mockery of the role that society entrusts to them.
And there you go, new major media ignoring the fact that we've simply given a trust to major banks, and they're screwing us as much as they can.
But we find them.
Well, we find them.
But they keep doing the same thing
Wait,
over and
give me
over
your
again.
wrist. Give me your wrist. Oh, yeah, that was what it was. And I'm looking at this going, by the way, banks make money up out of nowhere. Nobody's talking about that.
But they also commit criminal acts.
Okay, and banks being criminals is one of those mainstream misses that blows me away. What do you got, brother?
Well, HSBC got involved in a little spotlight.
Okay.
HSBC Bank has been allowing money laundering to happen right under its nose, according to a scathing report by the US Senate. Money suspected to come from drugs and terrorism deals. Apparently, HSBC Holdings plc has allowed the bank to act as a conduit for monies resulting from these shady dealings from places like Mexico, Iran, the Cayman Islands, Saudi Arabia and even Syria. Senator Carl Levin, chairman of the US Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, said the culture at HSBC was pervasively polluted for a long time. The report also concluded that top US bank regulator, the comptroller of the currency, had failed to monitor HSBC properly. As we all know, banks around the world are on the ropes right now, so this news is likely to get under the noses of anyone who's had enough of their anti-customer, pro-profit antics. Now, like Barclays over the LIBOR rate rigging scandal, HSBC might have to cough up hundreds of millions of pounds in settlements and fines for this failing.
So HSBC, we ran stories about banks getting busted.
They're running a racket.
Yes.
They're laundering drug and terrorist money. That is a crime.
You know, and they knew about it on Fridays, the guy who wrote the thing about the economic hitman. And he said on Fridays it was well understood the limos went down the streets to Citibank and all the major banks, and that were the gangsters bringing in bags of money to be laundered.
Well, it's also said that during the crisis of 2008, the global financial crash, the only thing that kept the economy afloat was drug money.
The only thing, ladies and gentlemen, story missed. The only thing that kept the economy afloat in 2008 was drug money.
Yeah, all those CDOs, all those credit default swaps, none of that. That was all on suspension. Don't forget they shut down Wall Street for 3 days?
That's crazy. Yeah, they did.
You know?
Okay, and I put two and two together. We got a $7 billion marijuana industry. That money's got to go into our economy somehow. And you got to know that banks are in behind that. But far be it for me to speculate about such things. And remember in 2008, talking about a mainstream miss being missed, Council of Canadian Policy Alternative turned around and said, we bailed our banks out.
Oh, yeah, but our mainstream media didn't even talk about that.
Our mainstream media ignored the fact that we bailed out our banks.
And, of course, our politicians just lied their faces off.
Oh, there's Harper saying, "Oh yes, we had a bulletproof economy during that time, and we don't need to tax banks' income tax, right?"
And we're how much in debt? $600 billion.
Yes, but remember,
Canada's federal debt.
Remember, you pay income tax. Banks do not pay income tax. Far be it for me to point out any fiscal solutions to the nightmare that we're going through in the economy, but let's take a look. Switch gears for a sec.
There's been a lot of rhetoric about Assad in Syria.
Okay.
And, of course, chemical weapons, all this stuff that's really reminiscent of the build-up to the war in Iraq.
Okay.
But the media's had a real play in how this is getting reported.
Yeah. Check this out. Okay, this is cool.
Syrian government doesn't let Western reporters into the country is not accurate. Currently, there are around 80 foreign media outlets accredited in Syria, a sizable number of them European or American. But their dispatches are not always welcomed at home. Chris Janssen is an independent Belgian writer.
They have an editorial line, and they want to bring a certain picture about Syria, that it's a brutal regime, that it's an evil country.
The use of Photoshop or selective editing is hardly a new invention. The war of words has long become a cliché. But in Syria, one-sided coverage keeps the war going, and shooting for TV really kills.
Journalism schools no longer teach their students to be objective. It's considered impossible. Rather, they are told to strive for balance and integrity and to put humanistic values above political. But Syria is once again a special case. In this bloody conflict, Western media rarely air calls for reconciliation or political dialogue. Rather, it's for arming the rebels and for the war, also known as freedom fight, to go on. Oksana Boyko, RT, reporting.
Remember, of course, Osama bin Laden was financed by the CIA directly. We know this.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, that was Afghanistan.
Wasn't his code name Tim Osman? Something like that?
I don't know. At any rate, the nonsense continues. Mainstream misses right now, and we want you to get informed. Get onto the internet and find out what Idle No More is. Okay, they're talking about one side of the story being carried. Idle No More is representing a police chief or a native chief on a hunger strike in Ottawa.
Which side of the story is being covered by the mainstream?
Oh, I don't
You
see.
said one side.
Yeah, I don't. I see the government non-reaction side.
Okay.
They're not discussing. They don't do background on why she's hunger striking. They don't do background on the incredible poverty that Native nations are left in Canada, or the fact that the United Nations comes in and reports the fact that there's food insecurity.
And slams us for human rights issues dealing with the Native populations as well.
So no background, no information, no type of logic or journalism, and a woman on hunger strike. Idle No More has woken up the planet, and we want you to get in there and be a part of it. Remember, the mainstream ain't telling you the story. That's why we're here.
Well, they got more important stuff to tell you about.
There's Justin Bieber's changed his clothing, don't you know? I am Darren Howard.
And I am Robert Nisbet.
We're going to continue wrapping up the best stories of 2012 and the way that major media is dropping the ball. You are listening to Radio Free Canada with our 2012 Mainstream Miss portion. Make sure you stay tuned for more.